We're here with Jim Kaat, Hall of Fame class of 2022, 25 Major League seasons, 16-time Gold Glove winner. Special thank you to HallOfFameSignings.com for hosting us. Now, how does it feel being back in Cooperstown?
Well, a lot more relaxing than 2022. It was worth the excitement and the busyness of 2022, but now coming back for the inductions of particularly this one with Joe Mauer being a Minnesota Twin. I'm sure there'll be a statue up for Joe pretty quick at Target Field, but it's much more relaxing. And what's really been cool for me is to get to know the Hall of Fame players, members, as people. And, like Lee Smith, I just knew Lee Smith as a big guy in a baseball uniform. Now, we become friends. So that's one of the joys of being a member.
I'm sure the camaraderie here is very special. It's like the greatest fraternity in baseball.
Yeah, everybody says the same thing, and it really is. It's quite a privilege to be a part of that group. And of course, I really consider myself a baseball historian, courtesy of my dad. But my dad drove here in 1947 to see Lefty Grove inducted. So I've known about the Hall of Fame and what it means for a long, long time.
You spent 25 seasons in the big leagues. What was most important to preserving your body, your health, and the quality of your play to last over 2 decades playing Major League Baseball?
Well, I think first of all is that we were not driven by velocity. Nobody was interested in throwing as hard as they could, so we didn't suffer the arm injuries. We were trained even as young pitchers, like in Class C ball, 19 years old, I pitched 240 innings. And so that's the way we were trained. So, and then I think because we were logging a lot of innings, our bodies developed, our lower body developed. Kids now are rushed too much, throw too hard too early, and I didn't suffer from that. So, and then I think, just good genes and good fortune is a big part of it too, to escape injury.
You won 16 Gold Gloves. That is massive for any pitcher. Do you think, first, that that's sort of a lost part of the game now, that a pitcher actually needs to be a good fielder? And second, what maybe did you train yourself to be a good fielder, or was that a big part of, learning to be a pitcher?
Well, I think the first part of the question is pitchers today are not really in position. They throw so hard, they're never in position, and they're getting hit a lot. But when I was a kid, it was a radio game then. So on a Sunday afternoon, I could listen to 8 games, 4 doubleheaders, Cubs, White Sox, Tigers, and then the Braves that moved over to Milwaukee. And my dad was a Philadelphia Athletics fan, and so I became my hero was Bobby Shantz, who was a little left-hand pitcher and MVP in 1952, and the announcer would say, "Here's Bobby Shantz, best fielding pitcher in baseball, lands on the balls of his feet, always ready to go either way." So I patterned my motion after Bobby, bouncing the ball off the back of my garage. Fortunate thing, in fact, I just signed some cards with Bobby and I on the same card, but I presented him with a legacy award. See, I was 80 and he was 93. That's 5 years ago. He's now 98. And so I said, how special is it as an 80-year-old to be able to give an award to your boyhood hero who's 93? I don't think that happens very often. Yeah, but that's really how I put a lot of time into being a good fielder, because of what Bobby Shantz did.
Do you think pitchers need to spend more time learning PFPs and learning to be good fielders? Because it seems like every so often we see, or almost too frequently, we see them overthrow first base or not field a bunt properly. Do you think that's a real issue in the game?
Yeah, I think that is, along with a lot of fundamentals. There's just not enough time spent on those little subtle skills or fundamentals that we did, because it's a power and a speed game. And they'd rather spend time in the batting cage or throwing harder than they really should. And we put a lot of time into PFP, as you said, hour every day, and they don't take the time nor have the time maybe to do that anymore.
And Jim, you talked about how it's a lot calmer this time being in Cooperstown compared to 2 years ago when you were inducted. But can you take us through sort of that moment when you got the call that you were going to be a Hall of Famer?
Well, it was December 5 in 2021, and I'd been through it several times before because I missed by a vote here and a vote there. And so they give you a time frame. You're on the ballot. I was always on the ballot, and they said if you get enough votes, be available on your phone from 5:15 to 5:45, and then they announce it on MLB Network at 6 o'clock. So, you know, I wasn't overly excited or anticipating because I'd been through it before, and I think like guys like Big Papi, they were, you know, they knew it was going to happen. They had big parties planned at their house. I didn't. I was just sitting there watching golf, trying to keep my mind off it. And then the phone rang, and I saw 917, which is a New York City cell phone code. And I thought, well, that's not Jane Clark, because Cooperstown is 603. Well, I didn't know, but her office is in New York, so she said, is this Jim? Yes. Well, this is Jane Clark. Well, as soon as you hear those words, your life changes. You know what it's about. So that was a life-changing moment and a memorable one that I'll never forget. Yeah.
Jim, I kind of want to talk about the recency of the pitching world now with the pitch clock now in a couple years into its infancy. Obviously no pitch clock when you were there, but what do you think about the pitch clock overall? Just speak on it in terms of the injuries that we've seen. Do you think that the clock has anything to do with it, or is it mainly just kind of that new school of thought when it comes to pitching in general?
Yeah, I don't think it has anything to do with injuries. First of all, I think it's a very good rule because it needed to happen. I mean, we didn't need it because we didn't have all the outside information come in to fill up our head from the bench. We just got the ball and got the sign pitched. But now that they are forced to do that, I think it's the results and the data shows that fans are more interested, games are quicker, sharper. The excuse they use is not enough time to recover. I don't buy that. Because, I mean, I pitched 300 innings when I was 36 years old, and I was a quick pitch pitcher. Never had an arm problem doing that. So I don't think that's a valid excuse, and it's been a real positive thing on the game.
And one last question for you. On top of a great baseball career, a Hall of Fame baseball career, excellent broadcasting career as well. So a lot of adapting in your baseball career as well. 4 different decades that you played in. Can you speak on the adapting you had to do as a broadcaster with the different kinds of eras of baseball that you broadcasted in?
Well, I think the training was the same. As a player, you know, I got to sit on the porch here in Cooperstown with Warren Spahn, Robin Roberts, Whitey Ford, Bob Feller. I listened, so I was always curious, asking questions. When I got into announcing, I was fortunate. I worked with Dick Enberg, I worked with Dick Stockton, I worked with Bill White. I got a chance to talk to John Madden. So I approached broadcasting, which is what I told Keith Hernandez, and he's done it, and he's excellent, is you have to approach that the same way you do your pitching craft. And I think that's what helped me, having guys like that trained me, you know, get in and out. You got 8 seconds to do this, and watch the game, not your notes, things like that nature that I was able to pick up from them.
Jim, thank you so much for taking the time with us. We really appreciate it.
All right, you're welcome.
Enjoy the weekend.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Have a
You
good
too.
one.
All right.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.